Good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of the Mental Health Pilot. As I mentioned yesterday on my social media, today I'm going to read an excerpt from my new book, 1982 Ragnarök. This book came about from when I spent a year in hospital in a comatose state. Like in a twilight zone. You're not here, you're not there. So I'll start. Chapter 1. Maroon Machine. Falkland Islands, 11th of June 1982, B Company, 3rd Battalion, the Parachute Regiment. Cheer up, Smith. So you're fucking wet and cold, the grinning sergeant remarked. It goes with the job, he said, giving the shivering young para a packet of pork scratchings, as if it was the answer to all the soldiers' problems. I'd open them for you, but I'm not your mum, he said, thrusting the packet forward again, hitting Smith firmly in the chest. Eat them now or save them till the end when you're counting all the spit bodies. It's up to you, Smith. Thank you, Sergeant, Smith said, accepting the packet with shaking, numb hands and a grimace of a smile on his frozen red face. I'd kill for a naffy pie, the young para declared through squinting, watering eyes due to the wind and driving needle-like rain. Smith hated pork scratchings. He was not about to tell his fearsome sergeant, so instead he pushed them into his smock pocket. It's a deal then, Sergeant Billy Smiler Brannon decided, with a big, evil-looking, demonic grin on his rugged, mustachioed face. Then he slapped Smith hard on the back of his sodden smock, causing the young soldier to lurch forward with the unexpected force. Oh, and I put that camera somewhere safe. It would be best if you weren't sacked for looking like a Sun newspaper journalist. You'll get all the shags and drinks for the rest of your life after this, you lucky bastard, the NCO predicted optimistically. Brannon looked up, his tongue tasted the rain, eyes rolling in the back of his head. Imagine being one para, missing out on all the glory. Yeah, that's right. Not as many free beers for those boys down the shot, or shags. For every archer you kill for me, Smith, I'll buy you 2 fucking pies. How about that? Now take your maroon machine off, orders roll wear helmets, but don't lose the fucker. You'll need it when we beat the cabbage head Marines into Stanley. You need to look the bollocks for the BBC cameras and your future shags back home. Yeah, okay, one day they'll make a Hollywood movie about this war, but we are the real fucking stars, don't you ever forget that. Brannon, a 10-year seasoned 25-year-old soldier with 3 tours of Northern Ireland under his belt, was reassuring his men. They looked up to him as a legend in the Paras after he received an MID, mentioned in dispatches, for neutralising a provisional IRA car bomb in West Belfast, heading directly towards Springfield Road IUC police station in 1978. Lance Corporal Brannon that day had a sixth sense about the approaching blue Volkswagen Transporter camper van. In briefings, a silver van was mentioned as a potential pyro vehicle with a false roof, used to fire mortars at security force bases. This vehicle was not silver, but still a threat, he decided, flicking off his rifle's safety catch, a 7.62mm round already in the breech. The target sped up, grinding the gears, heading directly towards the police station. Brannon dropped to his knee, took aim, controlled his breathing, and then applied pressure to the trigger. 15 rounds caused the vehicle to crash into a parked car. 10 of Brannon's rounds hit the driver in the chest and head, practically decapitating him. Fortunately for the police, soldiers and passing civilians, the driver had put his foot on the accelerator rather than driving normally, which was the red flag. Investigators believed the inexperienced 19-year-old panicked, drawing Brannon's attention, and a hail of bullets. Looking proudly at his soldiers, Brannon could see fear in their eyes and a steely determination to get the job done. It was especially true for Smith, the youngest in the company at 17. To Brannon, age meant fuck all. They were all maroon and airborne warriors. But he knew this could be their last night alive for some of them, including himself. Remember your training, yeah? Train hard, fight easy. Now's the time to earn your beer tokens, gentlemen. Every man an emperor, okay? So let's fucking smash these invading RG twats airborne style. To reach the start line at Mount Longdon, comprised of a horrendous, grueling 3-hour tactical advance to battle. Soldiers slipped on the wet, mossy rocks in driving frozen rain, enduring a wind chill factor of -40, whilst carrying more than 145 pounds of kit. Sergeant Brannon of 5 Platoon and his young Toms were soaked and exhausted, but they'd done the easy part. Now they would have to do what they swore to do when they signed on at the Army Careers Office back in the UK, to fight for Queen and country to the death if need be. Brannon attached his bayonet with a metallic click to his rifle and welcomed the creeping mist. Still, the illumination from the moon worried him slightly, because regardless of the weather or light, it was all a lottery. He'd bought a ticket the day he signed on the dotted line. Standing slowly, he double-checked that his magazine was firmly inserted into his rifle, then looked left and right at his paratrooper brothers. He moved his left boot forward, then firmly down into the marshy grass, praying he didn't step on a mine. Brannon wanted to put himself through the ultimate test of a war in which he was excited and privileged to be involved. His heart rate increased, adrenaline rose, feeling slightly giddy, like he'd just finished his 4th pint and spotted a fit bird across the dance floor, a drug-like sense of misplaced euphoria that only those in the same situation can comprehend. Similar to the feeling he had when he first jumped out of an aeroplane, the sensible part of his brain told him it was dangerous, but that was why he had para-wings on his arm and was privileged to lead these brave warriors in a battle. His right boot sunk into the soggy, gluey ground as he marched towards his inevitable destiny, like a moth to the flame. As it appeared and disappeared behind a cloud, he wondered if he would ever see the moon again in the United Kingdom. Boom! The area around 50 metres to his right flashed with a bright orange light, followed by an explosion and then ear-piercing hysterical screams that led Brannon to believe that one of his paras had stood on a landmine. Instantly, machine gun tracer rounds raked the area from the Argentinian positions where the explosion occurred. Then he heard the cries for "Medic!" confirming that it was one of their own. The element of surprise was lost. Finally, it was time for Brannon to earn his paycheck during the mayhem and organised chaos of legalised killing for Her Majesty's government. The constant repetitiveness of infantry training in Brecon in Wales kicked in. Like an automaton, he fired 5 quick rounds at the enemy machine guns before moving towards the enemy advancing to contact. 5 Platoon was now part of the fight for Mount Longdon and the recapture of the Falkland Islands. The Paras only knew one way forward, up the mountain, taking the enemy head on. Crawling between a group of 4 rocks, Brannon fired off his remaining 15 rounds in accurate bursts, then smoothly reloaded. Also at defensive rocks was Private Matteson, who had a lethal weapon in the shape of the GPMG, General Purpose Machine Gun. Matteson's head was down as several enemy rounds hit and ricocheted off the rocks. A piece painfully hit Brannon in his left earlobe. He didn't flinch. Glad he was wearing a helmet. "Put some fucking fire down," Brannon aggressively ordered the GPMG gunner, who seemed to be in a daze. "Sustained, accurate bursts, keep their fucking heads down." The machine gunner reluctantly crawled to the side of the rock to avoid silhouette and began returning fire in 5-second, controlled automatic bursts as Brannon moved to the left of his rock and tried to lob a grenade at the nearest Argentinian machine gun nest. The Argy must have had his finger constantly on the trigger, sending a stream of tracer towards the British so intensely it was like a solid laser beam. It seemed conserving ammunition was an alien thing to the Argentines in the heat of combat. "Grenade!" Brannon shouted, then lobbed an L2 from the kneeling position. It fell well short. Fuck! The veteran para didn't want to remain in the same position for too long. in case enemy grenades came the other way. Matteson, Smith, lay down sustained covering fire. I'm pushing forward, he yelled. The two paras looked at him like he was nuts, that he was contemplating leaving the relative safety of the rocks as they saw it. In the chaos that followed, Brannon had tunnel vision. He knew what to do to take out the Argentinian machine gun nest. When he stops firing at reload or for a stoppage, Brannon instructed his Toms, put down suppressing fire. Smith, keep the gun fed with Link. I'll crawl forward and bang the fuckers with grenades. Understood? The laser beam stopped momentarily. This was Brannon's window of opportunity. Matteson's GPMG opened up. Brannon crawled faster than he'd ever crawled in his life on his hands and knees. He could hear Argentine voices screaming and shouting in Spanish. Then, taking the pin from his first L2 grenade, he threw it hard and straight, aiming for the gap in the defensive trench. Nothing like they taught him on the ranges. It bounced off a metal beam, ricocheted back towards him. Fuck! Brannon escaped injury this time. He probably would have been killed if the explosion had been on a hard surface. Still, luckily, the wet, soggy peat dissipated the blast into the ground rather than his body. The British machine gun stopped firing, and the dreaded word "stoppage" rang out. An Argentine helmet appeared with wide, terrified eyes looking directly at Brannon. A flare shot up, lighting the battlefield like a nighttime football match at Wembley Stadium. Brannon instantly shot the Argentinian 3 times in the face without hesitation. Then he lay on his back, inching himself even nearer with his heels. He was now directly below the enemy machine gun nest that ominously had now started firing again. The empty brass cartridges hitting and cascading off the top of his helmet, burning the side of his face. Pulling the pin, gently but accurately this time, he lobbed the L2 inside. He waited for the dull thud of a detonation, then pulled the pin from his last L2, tossed it inside, noting with relief that the enemy machine gun had fallen silent. Gut-churning, primal, animalistic screams came from inside, which indicated that they were not all dead. So Brannon pushed the barrel of his rifle above his head and fired 15 unaimed rounds into them for good measure. The horrific screaming stopped at round 12. Inside the trench, 4 dead Argentinians, no older than his lads were, twisted together in a gory mess. One lay on his back with half his head missing, the dead soldier macabrely looking like he was smiling, his right hand still clutching his rosary beads, dripping in his and his fellow soldiers' steaming blood, guts, and cerebral matter. Then it all went black. I hope you enjoyed that first chapter, which gives you a little teaser into what the book's about, but doesn't really tell you the full story. So, I hope you enjoyed it, and as they say, hit the bell, subscribe if you like it, pass it on, share this, and come back. And those few people that are coming back, thank you. It's very much appreciated. I've got to try and build up from the beginning, and I'll keep on vlogging, as they say. So, this book, 1982, will be out extremely soon. So, I'll keep you posted. And remember, be yourself.